Girlies, on this page we're all about exposing the naughty plants. The plants that give us headache, the plants that cause us pain. And for good reason, because somebody has to do the job. Somebody has to tell you the truth and spare you the pain and save you your money, okay? But what about the well-behaved plants? What about the well-behaved plants in our collection? But unfortunately, as the saying goes, well-behaved women seldom make history, if I'm not mistaken. And the same seems to be for these plants. They don't make the news, they don't make the headlines because they have no drama. But it ends today, because today we're going to be giving them their flowers. We're going to be spotlighting plants that people in their right senses, no one in their right senses ever comes out to say, I regret buying this plant. No one. And to make things very, very interesting, because I didn't want to make this video one-dimensional. You know me, I like to take things up a level. I actually came up with 3 categories, okay? The first being those that want something more indoor inclined and indoor friendly and low maintenance. I've got you covered, okay? The next category is people that actually want to collect something a bit more exotic, something different, something they typically won't find in their big box stores, and they don't mind splurging the extra $1 or $2. And the last category is going to be a 2-in-1, okay? It's going to be for my outdoor girlies, my Florida girlies that live in the climate where you can actually grow your plants outdoors. I've got something for you as well. We don't talk about you all enough, but I want you to know you're seen here. And also something for my cacti and succulent lovers, okay? I've got you covered. There's something for everyone. So grab your coffee, grab someone. You may not need to grab your pearls for this one, but perhaps grab a notepad. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. Now, the first plant that no one in their right senses typically regrets buying. No one has ever come out to say, I regret buying this plant. Oh, Kariba. Ladies and gentlemen, she's right here in our presence. Can you take a look? She's just right here, right, towards my imaginary 16-inch wig. It's a golden pothos, guys. It is a good old classic golden pothos. And I know some of you snobs may be rolling your eyes, thinking she's boring, thinking she's basic. Babes, she is a classic. She is a staple, regardless of whatever part of the world you live in. This plant is not going anywhere soon. There's a reason why in your grandmother's photo album, this plant is in the background. And for generations to come, as long as the earth continues to rotate, this plant will always be featured in our homes. You know why? Because she's easy. She's as easy as ABC, and she's non-force. I have this babe growing in a bamboo pole, a cheap bamboo pole. You don't need to worry about a fancy moss pole with this one. She will pretty much climb anything. She will climb anything. She's not picky. Also, I don't even have her growing in special soil. She's literally growing in clay soil from the earth. She's not picky. She will grow in anything. You don't need to start bringing out your fancy chunky soil for this one. A standard potting mix will do. She is unproblematic. However, the only people who typically have cause to regret this plant are those who live in a climate where it is really warm constantly and grow these guys outdoors. They can grow very aggressively, and they can pretty much take over and become invasive. Okay? Those are the only people that generally tend to have cause for regret for this one. You can see this mamacita is trying desperately to reach towards my window, and if care isn't taken, she's going to grow and take over. So if you're growing this plant in a warmer climate or in outdoor conditions, you may need to prune her extensively to curb her growth. But outside of that, she's easy as ABC. She doesn't give you a lot of pest pressures. She does her thing, and plus she's also quite low light tolerance as well. She makes a fantastic bookshelf and display plant. I've talked about this in my plant styling series. That fancy anthurium is not going to make a fantastic display plant in that low light corner. This one will. So you can never go wrong with a golden pothos. There are different pothos varieties. There's the Mandula over there. I don't know if you can see her, trailing over there. But at the end of the day, the golden pothos is that girl, because she gives you this beautiful variegation while being low light tolerant and fast growing. What's not to love? So I'm sure we can all agree that there is no one in their right senses that comes out here to say, I regret buying a golden pothos. In fact, what you're more likely to hear is people saying, I regret not buying that golden pothos. Yeah. So yes, for those that want something indoor friendly, non-fuss, low maintenance, your girl golden pothos has to be included in this list. Okay, let's move on to the next one in this category. Okay, the next one, ladies and gentlemen, is your Philodendron Burle Max. Now this one, some will say she's the most common Philodendron you'll find, especially at least in this part of the world. She's so common. She's a weed, basically. She's a weed. But babes, she is non-problematic and easy. The only challenge we have with this plant, again, if you live in a tropical part of the world or a warmer part of the world, is that they can become very, very invasive and pretty much take over your garden. But outside of that, this is a plant that just doesn't want to die. I think I've made a video about it and I featured this plant. This plant just does not want to die. In fact, you're the one that will get tired and throw this plant away. It is non-fuss. I did have one that I eventually got tired of because she was just growing, up and down, and I just got bored and I sold her off. But it is non-fuss. It doesn't need fertilizer. You don't need to worry about fertilizing this babe. She takes care of herself. You don't need to grow her in fancy soil. None of that nonsense. The other day I saw one beautiful one while gallivanting the streets of Lagos, and she was such a beautiful sight to behold. And I was tempted to actually get a cutting or two. So this is a plant that both outdoors will grow aggressively, and even indoors in medium to low light conditions will do fairly decently well. Non-fuss, non-problematic, iconic. Some will argue she looks a bit plain. Well, she does. Truthfully, there is a variegated counterpart. I do have that one. But the issue with the variegated counterpart is that the green quickly takes over the variegation. So you have to be careful. But this all green non-variegated one, I mean, she may look a bit basic, but she's a classic and she's unproblematic, and no one typically regrets buying this plant. Now, as you mature in this hobby, I want you to actually lean towards, just buying these standard staple plants, just to, fill in your collection. You don't always have to go for the rare, the hot cake in town. Sometimes these classic staples should be incorporated in your collection, so you won't get burnt out. The problem some of you girlies have is that you just acquire so much of these exotic plants that require a bit more maintenance. Every now and then, get you a golden pothos, dump it around the corner. Get you a Philodendron Burle Max, dump it around the corner, and just to balance off the more challenging and exotic plants. All right? Yeah, so Philodendron Burle Max. See, by the way, if you're feeling this content, do subscribe. I feel like I do have to remind some of you to subscribe because you may forget. It happens to me when I watch some of my favorite YouTubers as well. So do subscribe and check out my exclusive membership girlies. I'm sorry I couldn't upload this week, but I have something special for you. I'm gonna insert a clip. Girlies, we're going plant shopping in this African nation of Nigeria. So if you want to be part of the inner circle, you better join my membership. Thank you. Now, this next one is for the girlies who want to splurge a bit more. They want something a bit different. It's okay. I'm not judging. I completely understand. And I want to guide you into selecting these more exotic plants that you won't have cause for regret. I have 2 plants on this list. Ladies and gentlemen, and this is the most expensive plant in my collection. The most expensive I've ever bought a plant. Oh, Jesus. The Philodendron Florida Beauty. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. Oh my God, girlies, I have wanted this plant for years. I remember back in the day during the Panini era when this plant came out. Oh, she was quite expensive. She cost an arm and a leg. But she's been around for a while, and not once have I heard anyone who bought this plant say they regret it. Not once have I heard anyone who bought this plant say, I regret buying this plant. And this is a plant that has been around for a while. We've talked about this on this page, the importance of waiting and sticking around to see how that trending plant is going to fare in people's collections before you make that expensive purchase. And that was what I did with this one. I waited patiently for years to see, are people going to say anything rubbish about this plant? And not one person. In fact, I'm bombarded with beautiful videos of people who have bought this plant. I saw a reel the other day and I was just like, oh my God, beautiful. The only caveat, however, is that you do need a pole. This is not a plant that generally tends to support itself. You do need a pole. I have mine is supported with this wonky stick, trellis thing. But I'm going to succumb to societal pressure and get myself a moss pole, even though I swore off them. But you do need a pole to provide this babe some support and also to grow bigger leaves. But darlings, outside of that, absolutely no cause for regret. So please, if you're looking to splurge on a plant, the price has come down. Yeah, that's a little bit on the higher side, but the price has come down. If you're looking to splurge and you have an extra $1 or $2, I strongly recommend this babe, the Philodendron Florida Beauty. And I can categorically tell you that you're not going to have cause for regret. Now, this next one is another one I observed. I was observing the girlies that bought this plant for years. The likes of Wild Fern, Auntie Wild Fern, my imaginary plant bestie in Canada. And there's this other lady in Canada as well, Lucian Steph. Those two girlies, I have been eyeing this plant in their collection. Eyeing it and observing to see, okay, it's gonna be my babes. So far, no cause for regret. Every single person I know that has this plant has not come out to say, I regret buying this plant. I'm talking about the Jose Bono. Philodendron Jose Bono. Oh, rabababababa. I recently got mine is not looking like, an enviable specimen. But I know with some patience and with some time, I have also decided to get a mossful pole for it. Remember, I told you guys that I'm off moss poles. I don't want them anymore. But apparently for some of these philodendrons, you may need to get one. Just to truly showcase their beauty. So I'm gonna give her a moss pole, but so far so good, babes. Everyone that I know that has bought this plant, they have not come out to say they regret it. In fact, they're always showing it off on social media, and this is one that has been here for a while. Far back as the Panini era, it has stood the test of time and still continues to be, that girl. So yes, the Philodendron Jose Bono, I strongly believe that if you get this plant, if you splurge on this plant, although I don't think they're as expensive as they used to be anyways, but if you splurge on this plant, I strongly believe you're not going to regret. But I'm curious to know your thoughts. All the plants I have mentioned so far, do you agree with me? Has there been any cause for you to regret these plants? Do you agree that these are plants that are unproblematic? Do let me know in the comments. Okay, now it's time for us to go out in the garden and look at the outdoor plants that I'm going to recommend for my girlies who live in warmer parts of the world where it's pretty much summer all year round. Let's go, Florida girlies. Something for you. Let's go. Canada girlies. UK, Scotland girlies. You may want to sit this one out. Okay. Okay, with my Canadian girlies, I know I said you should show away, but I've actually seen this in a couple of some of your Canadians. I've seen your grow this. I know Auntie Wild Friend has this, and I know somebody who lives in Indianapolis, Indiana. I think plants with Crystal. I love her content, by the way. I've seen her actually grow this. Ladies and gentlemen, I would not be honest if I didn't feature this babe. This is Stalia Gigantia, and this is probably my most unproblematic plant in the world. I practically ignore her. She's been in this pot, this small pot, for 900 years. 900 years, I kid you not. I have refused to report her. I don't even fertilize her. Water her very sporadically. Sometimes he comes, I see her looking shriveled and like a hot mess. I neglect her. Yet, Madame is doing her thing. The other day, she produced 2 stinky big blooms. Please, Stalia Gigantia. I don't think I know anyone who has come out to say I regret buying this plant. I will say, for y'all that grow yours indoors, you do want to give her a bit more light. If you want that stinky alien looking flower, you do need to give her a lot more light. I'm not really growing her particularly in any fancy soil. It's just literally the same soil I use for all my plants. But bear in mind that I'm growing her outdoors, so she dries out quite fast here. So you do want something that will dry out fast. And this is a plant that is typically not grown as a trailing plant, but as you can see, she doesn't mind trailing. So if you grow her outdoors, Florida girlies, how you doing? If you grow her outdoors and in bright light, she's going to grow really fast and even start trailing for you without issues. So Stalia Gigantia has to be included in this list. Okay, wait, this babe is obviously stealing the show. I wasn't going to include her in this list because, to be honest, she's easy, but you need a bit more experience to grow a beautiful specimen like this. Let me just, show her off. This is a desert rose, and fun fact, they're actually native. They are native to Nigeria. Did you know that? I have actually made a care video on this, so you can check that out. I'm going to link it. Now, this plant is actually easy in itself, but you do need to be a bit more experienced, especially when it comes to pruning and then fertilizing and all of that. I share all of that in that video. To be able to grow a beautiful specimen like this. Okay? But she doesn't really have pest issues and she can take out full hellfire Nigerian sunflower. This is definitely not going to work for the Canadian girlies, but for the Florida girlies, Miss Texas girlies as well, you can definitely grow a full specimen of this. Check out my video linked below to find out how you can, but let's proceed with the rest. The next plant is actually here. I was going to walk away, but I realized that, wait, she's here. Ladies and gentlemen, the only cause for regret you will have with this plant is that it can actually prick you, and painfully so. It has done so on several occasions, but you do have to be careful. Oh, Jesus. Babes, I'm talking about my Agave Victoria Regini. This is the one plant that has honestly not given me any issues. The pest issues, nothing. I can go 3 years without watering this plant. Well, not 3 years. Well, I could go months without watering this plant. It doesn't give me any issues whatsoever. The only challenge I've had is that it has pricked me and has stabbed me on a few occasions, and it's very painful. That is the only thing you might regret. So keep this away from walkways or where it might actually hit you. And it takes full sun. I don't know if you can grow this indoors, but some of you have strong grow lights. Some of you, this would have been the perfect time for a Soltech sponsorship, right? But they did ignore my message. This is primarily an outdoor plant for those that live in more drought but the interesting thing is I live in a very humid country and it still grows beautifully here. Just ensure that it is placed where rain doesn't get to it. If you live in a climate like mine where it rains often, ensure that it's placed where rain doesn't get to it as often, and then just water when dry and you're pretty much good to go. So ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't be sincere if I didn't include this in this list. Agave Victoria Regini. This is another one that I've had absolutely no cause to regret since I got it. Absolutely none. This is a type of Euphorbia. I think it's called the devil's backbone, but this one generally tends to have more wider leaves and way more variegation. It's a different type of hybrid. And oh my goodness gracious, this plant has not given me any issues. I rarely water her. She is covered in weeds. She doesn't give me any issues whatsoever. I will say this is a plant that needs light to sustain its variegation. The brighter the light, the more variegated it will be. Because if you look at the leaves at the back, they're not as variegated. I don't know if you can grow this indoors. Canadian girlies, Chicago girlies. I don't know if you can grow this indoors. This is the outdoor category. But Florida girlies, definitely you can grow this outdoors. Texas girlies, because this takes full sun and the variegation doesn't even get burnt in full sun, which is why I love it. Mr. Godwin.
God.
How you doing? So guys, my neighbor interrupted me. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, definitely get this one. Definitely get her. We're not going to have cause for regrets. And by the way, the main reason why I'm able to film outdoors like this is because it's the rainy season and the Nigerian sun is not out to kill. So after this video, I'm actually going to do a full outdoor tour. So subscribe if you want to see that. But let's proceed with the next one. But you won't regret buying this plant. Now, I don't know why this plant doesn't get talked about enough. I keep forgetting the name. I'm going to insert it. But I don't think there's anyone that's ever bought this plant and has come out to say, I regret buying this plant. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm mistaken. I don't know if it's a plant that grows indoors, but if you're growing it outdoors, fun fact, it's actually even native to Africa. If you're growing it outdoors, oh my goodness, unproblematic. So it's currently the rainy season, so it's not as sunny and it's quite cloudy, which is why this babe isn't flowering. But during the dry season, when it's sunny, she constantly flowers and she produces long-lasting flowers. I understand that different cultivars with different types of flowers. These are the flower heads. I should deadhead them. Well, I don't. Oh, I think she even has some seeds. Wow. You see? This is a plant that just keeps giving. Look at some seeds. I think I may actually plant it. So nice. So I have not had any cause to regret buying this plant. It hasn't given me any pest issues and it was really, really cheap. I just water when it is dry and it can take the full sun and it's just constantly unproblematic. When it is flowering, it's a beautiful sight to behold. I don't think you are going to regret buying this plant. So please, outdoor people, Florida girls and the rest, add this to your list and you won't regret doing so. That one was just cruising. Fresh plant. It's velvet. Please be going. Okay, my dears, we've come to the end of this video and I actually hope you liked it because we spent time outdoors instead of sitting down and exposing, gossiping as usual. But we spent time gallivanting around the garden. And like I said, if you stick around, if you subscribe to the channel, I'm going to be taking you guys on a tour, on an outdoor tour in my next video. Now that the weather is cool and the Nigerian sun is not out to kill. Fun fact, August is the coolest time of the year in Nigeria and I'm going to be spending a lot of time hopefully with you outdoors in August for that reason. So subscribe to the channel and let me know your thoughts. And I will see you, I'm saying a lot of and, I will see you in the next one.